Hello everybody. I'm going to do an altered pattern sort of tutorial on the tie-dyed cane that I posted the other day. I got to worrying that there might have been a difference depending on the way that I began compressing the whole thing from the point of the square of squares. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but this is basically the same tutorial, just an alternative view. So I'm using Sculpey Souffle this time. Still going to do a rainbow. I'm going to use raspberry, tangerine, canary, jade, robin's egg blue, grape, and igloo white. And the igloo white, I'm going to split that off into 6 sections. They're not very big. You can go larger if you want to have more of a blend in it. I just wanted a little hint of color or of pastel basically. And I'm just doing the teardrop blend method on this. It's not precise, not as perfect as a Skinner blend or anything, but it does work. And if you need any instruction on how to do such a blend, Cindy Leets from Polymer Clay Tutorial, she has a great, that's where I learned how to do that from her. So you can check that out. Now I just blended through on the largest setting on my pasta machine until I was happy with the blend. And I blended almost all of the white out, but it's okay. And then turn it sideways and run it through long ways to make it elongated so that you can do, I ran this through on the second largest setting, and then take it and do the fan fold so that you've got your lighter color on one side and your brighter color on the other side. And go through and do that for each of your other colors. And go ahead and when you do the fan fold, try to get all of the air out that you can, because we all know air bubbles are not your friends. And so then you start making your long square logs of each color and keep your white on one side and your bright on the other side. And I use a couple of rulers to make sure that my number ends up divisible by the amount of colors that I have. So I have 6 colors. I need it divisible by 6 so that I can have 6 logs of each length of color. And you can start out with whatever color you want to, but what you do, whatever color you start out with, you want to keep them in that line. And when you get to the end of that line, the last color is going to begin the next line. And then you work to the end again and restart from the beginning and work until you get to that next. It's so confusing, isn't it? But what you'll end up having is a very distinctive diagonal line that goes from bottom right to top left of the first color that you began with. And then once you get to that point, you should be out of logs at that point. Try to make sure that all of your light colors are facing the exact same direction. And then go ahead and compress that to, again, try to get rid of all the air bubbles. And this one I'm going to split in half so that I can do this experiment. I wanted to see if there would be a difference in the end result. And I figured there would be. If you started out horizontally or diagonally on your, or vertically, I'm sorry. You start out your diagonal line horizontally or vertically. And you can see it already from just the first compression, you can see a big difference. Vertically, it's going to line your colors up. And horizontally, it's going to cause an almost kaleidoscope effect. Once you split them in half, try to keep your lines as close to possible, you know, as you line up your compressed mirrors, you know. so that you can keep that same pattern throughout, and mirror and compress them however many times you like to get the number of striations that you want. And then go ahead and pinch that into the triangle and get it, more of like a right angle triangle, I guess is what it is, so that when you cut it open and mirror it, this is the result. And you can see the top one that I started out with the diagonal line vertically and pressing against it came out with that beautiful tie-dyed striation. The one that I started out horizontally, it almost looks more like a kaleidoscope, sort of. I don't even know. It doesn't look as much like a tie-dye sort of pattern as the other one does. But I think they're both beautiful. But you can see that there does make a big difference in which way you begin compressing. And I like to keep the cane actually in the triangle form, because then you have more options for how you put it together. You can see here I put it on a mirror to show what it would look like if you just squared it up that way or the other way. You can either way, when you put them together, when you piece slices together, it's going to end up having the squares and the X's all throughout it anyway. And it's all beautiful, I think. If you leave it elongated like this with a rectangular shape, you can see that you can actually make the chevron pattern in it, and I think that makes a really nice bracelet sort of pattern. But it really does depend on your tastes as to whether you want it, with the more of a tie-dyed look or more of this sort of kaleidoscope look. I probably should have slowed up on I'm sorry, my cat. When I mirrored it, I probably should have stopped a little early because it ended up taking out more of the light color where you couldn't see so much of it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't look as much like the cane that I made the other day. If you wanted to get that look of like the one that I posted the first day, you would put more white and not really blend it out as much, and then not fold it over and compress it so many times before you turn it into a triangle. That's what happened with this one. I probably should have stopped it earlier, but you can kind of tell when you're doing the compressions. Now see, this is the one that I did the other day that had the very distinctive white lines in it, and it does. Somebody mentioned that it looks like a hippie's fingerprint, and it does. It's very much fingerprint sort of pattern in it, and it's got its own charm. I really like the way that looks. Now see, if I'd have stopped at this point here with the one that I did for this particular tutorial, it might have had more of that sort of look to it, but I still didn't leave enough of the actual white per color to have that much of a distinction of the white lines in it. And then of course I compressed it again from that point to this point before I started turning it into a triangle. And so I ended up with a lot less of the pale colors visible, but you can see they're still there. And I think it still looks really pretty this way. So there you go. Did the experiment for you. You don't have to worry about wasting clay to find out. And so please make sure, if you want this look, start out turning your diagonal line vertically. Turn it vertically. And that's how you get the striations of tie-dye. Again, I appreciate it so much. Thank you all so much for your words of encouragement. Thank you for watching, and I'll try to do my best to make more tutorials if that's what you guys want. So, Thanks again. Bye.